In your early teen years, which you just mentioned because we asked about your first find, your interest in art and antiques seemed to emerge. You used your babysitting money to start collecting your vintage and antique things. How did this interest or love grow and manifest, so to speak? I know also when you were in Israel, you'd find things and send them back. It probably cost more to send them back than it did to buy them.
It did.
And then we'll talk about how the thing is really.
Well, I always went to flea markets, and I always went to thrift shops. And my father was this very elegant man, always wore a pocket handkerchief. And he was aghast that I would go to thrift shops to find things. But I always fascinated me, everything that was handmade and everything that was just beautifully, beautifully done. And it never occurred to me to wear the things. I just collected them. So wherever I traveled, I went to flea markets, and I just shipped stuff home. My mother thought I was nuts. So
but you
should get these boxes all the time from wherever I was traveling.
What am I going to do with this all? So at some point in the 70s, your friends started to come to you and wanted to, I guess, buy you. Well, some of your friends you probably loaned stuff to, but then some people began to buy things from you, and you actually, I think, were written up, or you were promoted. Somebody wrote about you in the Toby reports, and then that profile. You know, you started with accessories, Bergdorf's and Macy's, and so talk about how all that began. And I'm gonna put on something while we're talking.
Sure.
I'm gonna put this
all
on
right,
first.
You're putting on a snazzy little 40s hat.
There we go. I'll leave it on for a couple minutes.
Well,
Every
was
question,
working,
I'll change hats.
I was working as a consultant, and I was collecting antique clothing. I was living with my boyfriend at the time, and we had a rack in the bedroom of antique clothing, which I suppose he wasn't so happy about.
I bet.
And a friend of mine was an illustrator, as you mentioned, for the Toby report, and they were doing an article about antique clothing, specifically lingerie, Victorian lingerie.
And you had quite a collection
I had a lot.
of that.
Yeah, Victorian and 1920s lingerie. And they couldn't find a vintage store that they liked. So she said, you know, I have a friend that has a collection, take a look. And they came and looked at it, and they loved what I had, so I was lucky. And they profiled me. They gave me a full page with illustrations. And then I started getting requests from boutiques and department stores around the country wanting to buy. So I thought, oh, that's different. So maybe I'll try and do that. So I did. I left my consulting job, and I had some friends in theater. I started lending them things, renting things to other people, and I didn't know where it was going to take me. And one day, a friend had a store in Soho, and Woody Allen was doing the movie Zelig. That was in 1982.
Right.
And he sent him to my
Thing.
apartment. That was
so
your next
great.
question?
That's great.
And he came to my apartment, and he bought everything I had. And I thought, oh, great, it took me years to collect this, and now I have to start from scratch. So I thought, well, you know, I had an aha moment. And I thought, well, what if I rented? And from then on, I started only renting and started augmenting my collection by leaps and bounds.
Okay, great. We're going to